everyone, this is Cupcake from GameLeap. I am a top 500 support player, and today I'm going to teach you how to stay away from those tilted teammates. One of the key things you can do as a player to help prevent tilt on your team is to stay positive yourself. Having a positive attitude will not only help you from getting tilted, but it will help the rest of your team see that there is someone, at least one person still trying on the team. When they see that there is at least one person trying, they're more able and more welcoming to your sort of advice and anything that you'll have to say into the comms. There are a couple ways to stay PMA meaning positive mental attitude. Staying positive in your games is tough at times, especially if you're losing, but practicing your PMA is almost like practicing your mechanics. It's something that does not come easily, and it will take time to practice, but if you're someone who does end up getting tilted a lot, it is very important that you do at least try to stay positive in your games. There are a couple ways that you can do this. For me, one of the easiest ways to stay positive was to make sure that I was always very vocal during my fights. So if there wasn't anyone target calling, I would help target call. If there wasn't anybody making plans for the next fight by ult tracking what the enemy team ults were, or by tracking what our own ults were and how we could combo, I was the one that was going to take that. And that is one way to show your team that you are trying, and they'll be more receptive to trying themselves. Another way to stay very PMA is to try not to blame your deaths on your teammates. Accidents happen, okay? If Zarya misses a bubble on you, or your Ana misses their nano on you, these things can happen. It's good to just say, that's okay. Next time, we'll try it again, and we'll go in and work together more as a team. You can also make these calls to your team. If you notice that you're not getting healed, you can always say, Ana, I'm to your left, could I please get a heal really fast? If you're in a situation where you're playing Genji or some sort of flanker, and you know that you want Zen Orb or to be pocketed for a certain thing, it is good to communicate that with your team. That will let your team know that you as a DPS player are trying, and will also stop you from getting tilted because you're asking for support from your team before it's too late, before you're already dead. So practicing your own PMA is very, very important. However, being PMA yourself doesn't always prevent people on your team from becoming tilted, especially if your team is not doing very well. When people start to tilt on your team, you should try as quickly as possible to diffuse the situation. One of the ways I like to do this is to suggest different plans that could work to everyone's advantage. For instance, if your team is running a Rein Zarya comp, you could suggest running Dive or Goats or something else. Maybe your team will be receptive to these changes to see if that will work better. Another way of helping to diffuse the situation is to start to plan for the fights ahead. So if you know that you're running a Zarya and a Hanzo, in between fights where most of the fighting among teammates and tilting among teammates occurs, you can just start to talk about, okay, that's okay, we lost that one, but this next fight we'll have Zarya Hanzo combo and we can go in together and win. After the fight is very, very crucial, especially if you want to call out what the enemy team's ults were that they were using. So if you know that your whole team was wiped by a Zarya Grav and a Hanzo ult, and they used Nano somewhere in there, you can make those calls to your team. Say, okay, they use Zarya Grav, they use Hanzo Dragons, and they use Nano Boost. Next fight, we'll have our Dragons and our Zarya ult, and we'll be able to win that way. It keeps your team focused from tilting. For instance, if you had a D.Va on your team, and the plan before that fight was for your D.Va to eat the grab, and she didn't, and you all got grabbed, even though that's a really, really tough thing to do, it would keep your team from flaming that D.Va player and making that D.Va player upset and making your team upset. It is good to stay focused on the objective and not to worry about those past fights. But also make sure that you communicate respectfully when you are talking to your team trying to diffuse these situations. If you are going to suggest a comp and you want to suggest Goats or a Rein Zarya comp, the best way to do this is to just ask politely if that's what everyone would like to do, and to not just tell people to get on different roles. I've heard this done a lot throughout my ladder games where someone will just tell somebody to get on Rein or get on Mercy or get on Lucio instead of just asking, and that doesn't make the person more willing to try. If someone's not going to switch, they're not going to switch. You're just going to have to play the game and still try your best, knowing that that's all that you can do. So after losing a fight, do not bring up what went wrong in the previous fight. Bringing up the previous fight can further tilt your teammates and make them self-conscious about their mistakes that they had made in the previous fight. So it's good to just focus on the next thing ahead. If you know that your Ryan had made a mistake by walking one path, let's say that the plan for your team last fight was to go main, but the enemy team is running a Widowmaker, a Hanzo, and an Ashe. All three characters that have very good abuse of these sightlines. And your team pushed main and was just getting picked apart by these snipers. Instead of saying to your Ryan, God, why did we go main? Going left would have been such a better choice. The Widow couldn't have gotten shots on us. You can just reorientate, diffuse the situation, and say, hey, Ryan, how about next time we go left so we have more cover and we're out of the line of sight of the Widow. And then that way the Ryan doesn't feel like you are personally attacking him. Also, if someone does die, you should not flame them in the mic as well. If someone dies to a Widowmaker or whatever, you should be like, you idiot, how did you get picked off? These are not the types of things that you should be saying to encourage your teams. Staying positive and staying away from flaming and tilting and that sort of stuff can make a huge impact on your gameplay, almost as much as mechanics and almost as much as like positioning and awareness. This is like another level of something that you as a player can work on to improve. When someone on your team might be uncomfortable playing their role, you can suggest for them to swap off their heroes. Now, a lot of the times on ladder, when I hear people ask other people to swap roles, it will be more like, hey, why are you on Ryan? You don't even play Ryan. You should just play Lucio. You Lucio one trick and like things like that, which is definitely not how you should handle a situation. Or, why are you playing Widow? You suck at Widow. Give me Widow. I'm obviously better. I have hundreds of hours on Widow, and that's how these people seriously expect to handle the situation, is by flaming their teammate and then asking for them to do something, which is not going to get you anywhere. Those people aren't going to switch when you flame them, and you're going to make them feel horrible about their gameplay. The proper way to ask somebody to swap off of their hero is kind of asking very nicely. Think of the way that you would ask somebody if you were talking to them in person. If somebody came up to you and said, ugh, that shirt is so ugly, it doesn't fit you at all, you shouldn't be wearing a tank top, here's a button up and a tie, you wouldn't want to put it on, right? Like, you would feel insulted and you would get defensive and you'd be like, no, I like this shirt, I think I look fine in this shirt. And you would probably be pretty pissed off. So using that same kind of mentality when you're asking for someone to swap or things like that, and just staying positive when you're asking them to swap is very, very important. This is kind of a situation where my team had lost the previous fight. I had just before this asked them if they would like to swap to a different team comp. My team said no. One of our DPS players points out that they don't play DPS, and I immediately say, hey, that's okay. I play DPS and we can swap. Watch at how easily this is figured out when we stay PMA.
But then our DPS, that's for Widow May.
1-1. I'm not a DPS player.
You want to swap me?
Because we were struggling to kill the Reaper and they had a Hammond.
Here. It's okay, swap me.
I don't play Ana either.
Well, you don't have to play Ana.
Just go tank, I'll DPS. Oh, that works.
Boom. Instantly solved. People are more than willing to swap roles if you are nicely asking them to swap. This game we ended up winning because everyone on my team was coordinating and working together to find the roles that worked best for us. If I had told our Zen here in this situation, Zen or Mei, to just get off Mei, I'm playing Widow, get on Zen, the situation probably wouldn't have worked out very well. Notice that when I first swapped off of Ana, his immediate response was, well, I don't play Ana either. And I said, that is okay. You do not have to play the hero that I was just playing. You can play anything in the support role. And I wasn't flaming him of, oh, we have to have an Ana. We need you to go Ana. So when you treat people with respect and decency, they will want to swap and want to cooperate with you. I wanted to talk a little bit about why it seems like people always get throwers in their games in Overwatch. That is because of this thing called 30-30-30, in Overwatch. In games like this, it's not just Overwatch, it's any sort of like ladder-based games. And 30-30-30 basically says that you're going to lose 30% of your games no matter what because of throwers and just your team not cooperating well enough together, or the enemy team is just better than you. And that's always going to happen in a ladder-based game. The other 30 is you're going to win 30% of your games no matter what, no matter how hard you as a player just do awfully or throw. Your team is just going to be better than the other team, and you're going to win. The other 30% of your games are what makes up your skill in Overwatch. They're very close games, and you got an amazing Widowmaker pick. They're going to be your Nano absolutely saved your Rhine, and he got an amazing Earthshatter. And this is where you, as a player, this is where your skill is determined within the game. So I talked a little bit earlier about how practicing your PMA is almost like practicing mechanics. This is where that will come into play. So if you practice your positivity and you stay positive and you keep your teammates from tilting, think about all the enemy teams that are going to have tilted players when your teams aren't going to. Think about how much more ineffectively the other teams are going to play together than your team. If you stay positive and you keep your team trying to win, then you're going to win a lot more of your games and you're going to climb. Thank you for watching, everyone. Once again, this was Cupcake from GameLeap, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and your comments. Thanks for staying positive. Bye!